Hi, guys. I hope y'all are all having a lovely week so far. I have been sitting on this podcast for far too long, and I am so excited to share it with you finally. Linda Septien, she's everything. She's absolutely everything. If you follow me on social media, I posted about her before in the past. She's responsible for so many pop careers, and I give you guys more background as we're talking, so I don't want to spoil anything, but I had no idea how in tune she was with everything going on. It's so easy to get checked out on technology and TikTok and what everyone else is doing, and she dedicates so much time on being the best person that she can be so she can run the best vocal studio for her clients. And it's just, I was in shock how she uses all the tools that I use in my life to help her students. And that is such an aspect that so many people are missing. When you are being coached by someone, I feel like you don't just want vocal lessons, you also want life lessons. And she's giving that. And she gives it to us in this podcast. So please welcome Linda Septien. I cannot wait for y'all to listen.
Okay, Linda, you were born July 16th. You're a Cancer. Are you into astrology at all? Do you know
what?
Cancers?
It depends. I've read so much about it. That's a good question because I've read so much about how everything has shifted. And so nobody is what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be the month later.
Right. Well, Cancers are one of my favorite signs because they're very sensitive, emotional, caring, and that totally comes through with you. And you were born and raised in Louisiana. Your mom played the keyboards and accordion. Your older sister was a concert pianist, and your dad hosted weekend jam sessions with other musicians. You used to sing in your mother's Baptist church choir in New Liberia, Louisiana, performing even musicals. What age did you know that your life was destined to be in music? Did you have an aha moment, or did you just kind of always inherently know?
I don't think I had a choice. I never had an aha moment because I never was out of music, right? So I don't know. That was our real job. We didn't have another job. That was our real job.
That was it.
I never had an aha moment.
It was just in your bones. You didn't have a choice.
I don't know if it was in my bones, but it was in my head.
Did you have any musical artists that you idolized when you grew up? Who did you listen to?
I grew up with rock, obviously. So it was mainly 70s and 80s were all rock. And so in 90s too, even grunge, of course. But that's all I did was listen to rock. So our famous ones, I mean, from Nirvana on down to anything from the Rolling Stones to all of them. I mean, I had my favorite in elementary school was Iron Butterfly, and I got a Davida,
Oh
so
God,
I never really, I mean, we didn't have really solo artists at all. It was all bands, and that's what I know. So for me to just be working with solo artists mainly is very tough because I like musicians.
That makes sense. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
So your parents were okay with you listening to rock music even though they were Baptist?
Well, Southern Louisiana isn't the Baptist in Texas.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, everybody's Catholic in South Louisiana. Like they're either Jewish or Catholic. And that's it. That's all you got. And you got one Baptist church and we were at that one. And so, but they did all the stuff the Catholics did.
Okay, I love it.
This is South Louisiana show. You talk like that, you eat crawfish and you drink beer. And that's what South Louisiana was about. So, and you have Cajun music, right? So no, we don't have, I mean, everybody, I don't know, the Baptists were similar to the Catholics. We just didn't have mass at 12 midnight.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So you moved in the 80s to Nashville and you recorded a contemporary Christian album. But before that, you were doing opera. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what, okay, now that was an aha moment because what happened is I went to Europe for a while and I did all the what's called Ena parts in opera. And so I toured and toured and toured and finally decided to come home because I was now 7 months pregnant and said, better probably go home for this one. And so I went to Nashville to record the album before the baby was born. And I started singing and thought I was really amazing. And so, I just come off this amazing opera tour. So I thought, well, I can do this. And so I go in the studio and, sing, I'm a miracle, that kind of thing. And they're going, I thought I had amazed them because their mouths dropped anyway through that strong glass window. And I thought, they're not saying anything. And I said, how was that? And he said, is that how you're going to sing? And I said, yeah, pretty sure I am.
Killing
And
it
they
in
said,
Europe.
yeah. And they said, that totally sucked. That's what they said. And I said, well, why does it suck? He said, you have no feeling, no life, no energy, no movement, no understanding of storytelling in a song. I said, got it. I'm paying you and you're telling me this, so I must suck. He said, well, go around, be a diesel sniffer, as he called it in those days, and be a groupie, in other words, to the 18 wheelers and go look at all of these amazing bands and see what turns an audience on. So I wrote 14 manuals on it for 2 years and just wrote, okay, this is what happened when Mick Jagger did this. This happened when Michael Jackson did this. I saw everybody. I had a blast for 2 years. Anyway, and I realized I'm going to try this out and teach it and train it. This is a long time ago in the early 90s. And so I did. And we just started launching artist after artist after artist after artist. I mean, it just piled up. So now we have 68 major artists out there right now, but we've trained 17,000, I think now. We've kept up. It's been throughout the years. But that was an aha moment. I had to realize that classical music is the beauty of the voice, and it still is. It's gorgeous, but it's not entertainment. So not pop. So that's how I started all of this. I never planned it. I never did a business plan. People ask me all the time, "What was your success?" Somebody telling me I sucked. Pretty much that was it, and I thought I was good. So that did it.
I love that. So that kind of gave you a fire in your belly to keep going and kind of prove that guy wrong, I would imagine, right?
Well, I was more interested. I'm a learner, and as a lot of people are today now. But I mean, every morning I get up at 6. I study till 9 every single morning, and so when someone tells you you suck and you are paying them, they might be right. They might be right when. And so I sat there and went, okay, you know what? I probably do. I got to figure out why. And he wasn't saying I was. He said, you're on pitch. I mean, you've got a beautiful sound, but not for wanting to sing a pop album. You're not. So what happens now is I get a lot of artists in. I got one last week that was musical theater. And she was in from Colorado, and she is very good. She's precious girl, precious. But she started singing, your ah da da, that kind of sound, and I went, oh, here we go, and it was very difficult for her to just sing lo-fi. Try
Mm-hmm.
to sing a song that doesn't require big chops, but it requires a lot of emotion to pull in between hip hop beats. Try to do that. What can you do between those beats that turns an audience on? And that's what we study mainly is how to be congruent with the beats and the production, because that's today's music that we have. Like I said, I have to study 3 hours a morning on just what is today's music and how do we complement it. It's not just about singing anymore, as you well know. Billie Eilish is not famous for her fabulous chops, but an amazing entertainer, just
Mm-hmm.
amazing. So those are the things, and we look at Taylor Swift. Not an amazing voice. It's not a huge Kelly Clarkson voice, but she identified with her fan base, and she does it
Totally.
well as
And
the
she's
number
a
one artist in
prolific
the world.
writer. Yeah.
Totally, I totally respect her and admire her.
Well, and I
So,
came from, I mean, you heard me sing. I saw you. We'll go into all this later, but Linda hosts this
mhm.
incredible artist showcase for her studio every year, and you've been doing it since the 90s. Is that right?
Oh yeah, 28 years.
28
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
And I think my dad even judged it. I know I went with him in the early 2000s, but I think my dad judged it even like in 94. So it's
He
obviously been
judged 5
around
of them. Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
5.
It's been around
Mhm.
forever. And coming from musical theater, my dad brought me to go see the showcase for my birthday. And I think I was turning 16. And that was when Demi was with you, and she was kind of, first starting out, or maybe I must have been younger because she was super young. And my dad brought me in front of you to sing for you. And I was the same musical theater, singing from my throat, and everything had a big emotion. And what did you say to me? Do you remember?
Oh, well, I remember it was in the Hard Rock.
Yep.
And I remember you singing musical theater and your dad, or a musical theater piece, and I remember your dad saying, "You may not be right for her, Linda, because she really wants to go into musical theater." And just to put a postmark on this, the funny thing is now, of course, musical theater is all pop.
Pop.
It's really
100%.
interesting how it's changed.
Yeah.
But what did I say? Was I nice?
You were so nice. You were just like, you're musical theater, and if you're gonna study with me, you have to be pop. And at that point, I was so musical theater, and that was so segregated from pop.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking back, and obviously studying with you would have been it would have probably changed the trajectory of my life. I don't know what that would have looked like, but it just goes to
We
show.
had a blast.
Well, you and I have had such an amazing relationship regardless.
Yep,
so
we would.
It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
But just hearing, like, pop shows the emotion. Musical theater can be so sterile. And I got to judge your musical showcase this year, which was such an honor and such a full circle moment for me. And I'm telling you, every artist that I saw that I was drawn to was just singing from the heart with emotion, and they had that authenticity. And that's what's lacking in that musical theater. So now that it's all full circle, musical theater is pop, just shows how what you're doing really is for everyone that wants to study music, because you can use that
Absolutely.
in every sector.
Yeah. Well, realize musical theater and opera both you're telling the story from the composer's viewpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
And pop, you're having to tell the story from your viewpoint. So it's harder. Pop is so much harder than anything else because of the fact that you do 5 different senses on stage. I mean, you're having to sing and remember lyrics, which is the left brain. Right brain, you're having to be creative. You're also having to remember left brain, so you're back. Melodies on left brain. Then you're also having to move what we call time gestures. So everything has a time gesture in your whole entire body. And then you're also having to look at the audience and see if they're bored stiff or if they're acknowledging what you're doing at the same time. And you're always also having to remember, are you singing with a band? Are you singing with a track, a guitar? What are you doing? So these 5 sensory places are tough. Whereas in classical music, all I had to do was sing, certainly in another language, but it was easy once you know the language and you know the classical part. And opera singers are terrible actors, so you didn't have to worry about that. But it's just a very, very different facet, right? And musical theater, you know what you have to do because the story is going to tell it, right?
Right.
So you don't have to make it up as you go. But as a solo singer, pop singer, you have to make it up as you go. And you have to act in whatever you feel. Even if you're singing a love song, you may feel crappy that night. And so you want to sing it cynical or mad or whatever you feel. Otherwise, you're bored. For 18 months of a tour, you're bored. So you have to sing it the way you feel that night. And that's what turns audiences on.
Totally. I love that. Okay. So I know you work hand in hand with a lot of the music execs and the television executives, and you have regular gigs on The Voice, American Idol. How do you keep embracing your own authenticity without following the industry formula? What would you tell someone if they're having a hard time figuring that out on their own? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so there's 2 parts to that. And one is you're going to have to follow the industry somewhat. It would be like, let me take a sip here. I think like everybody else, I got over COVID about 3 weeks ago.
Ugh.
And I had the last of the cough. Everybody, our entire studio has had it. We all decided to share it and get it over with. But anyway, the hard part about trying to predict the future, many years ago, I was a buyer for clothing stores and I lived in New York, right? Didn't know why in the world that would ever matter to me. But now dressing clients and things, it really does because you can, you understand now the brand of the body also, right? Well, that also is the same thing that happens in music. 9 months later is when fashion hits. So right now, obviously, they're planning for 9 months later. Same thing in music. It's 9 months. If I'm planning on 9 months later, then I have to decide in 9 months what I think would happen. Well, there's not a whole lot of music that can be that different. There are samplings that are different, of course, in production, as we know. So my good producers will produce all kind of cool crap that is a little different because it comes out every day, and Native Instruments certainly does a good job on that. But the problem is comes in, how do I sell it if nobody likes it? And there's certainly, with 45,000 songs uploaded to Spotify a day, um, how can anybody be different? So I have to kind of examine, okay, what do we think is coming? Like, are we going to, so right now, fusion is the big deal. Obviously, it started with Lil Nas. So you've got country and hip hop together, you got hip hop and jazz together, you got it all. So fusion is the big deal. And it's because they're running out of different deals, I think. And then certainly world music is doing really well. Well, so there's a lot of Chinese, Asian influence. There's all kinds of stuff. Well, if I think about that, though, is America going to buy that? Because America is still number one, even though we only buy 19% of the music. It just went up a percentage. And so the rest of the world buy 81% of all music, right? But America runs it, definitely runs it. And so everybody wants to be an American artist. Well, how do I predict America? And we get invited quite often to South America because they have nothing there in music. And they're begging for us to come and place that so that they can have their culture and customary music done. Everybody wants to be America. Okay, so I start there. If you want your music to be known in America, then you're going to have to sell to Americans. And so if that's the case, and your music, like I have an artist right now that is psychedelic, kind of weed pop, for lack of a better way to put it, and he is amazing. He's very good. It's going to appeal to. I love the music. It's beautiful. But it's going to appeal to an audience from the '60s, that are
Badass.
born now.
Yeah.
And so I said, do you understand? It's going to be a smaller audience unless we make you an influencer of some kind, which would be really cool. So we are, with the psychedelic whole thing, um, and jackets that are amazing. I mean, there's so many things with NFTs and all the things that we're having to study
Totally.
now that are, yeah. I mean, so he's an artist, so we can sell
Oh,
his
that's
art on.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. But that's how we do it. So what do I look at? Do I look at, is it going to sell, or no, I'll just make his whole product based on the NFT bottom line, or do I make him just a little bit into the pop side so that everybody would enjoy a larger
Mhm.
portion so he can make money? And I tell everyone, this is your decision, but I just want you to know, when you're selling water, if you put pineapple in it, you're going to reduce that audience, and you got to live. Otherwise, you're going to be working at 7-Eleven too. So you've got to think of, just like in fashion, if I decide to just put out what I like to wear, I'm not going to make any money. So I've got to look and see what would Gen Z want to wear. uh, I have to, or I'm not. I mean, you can't. You have to make a product that people will buy, and I think artists don't like that. They say, "Well, wait, it's about me." It's not. If you want to eat, you got to sell things that people will buy. So fuse that somehow. Make yourself happy enough that a steak sounds good tonight, and then the next, and I remember. I don't know if you ever remember the Rippingtons, but there was a jazz group that one of that I need one of the players, but anyway, they would always, they're phenomenal. And when they go after hours, they would go to bars in New York and play what they really loved. Yes, there's an argument to be made. Why don't you just play it all the time, what you really love? And that's the question of every artist. They
Right.
they may not make it then. Yeah, that's the hard part.
It is really cool though to see, because even when I was in high school and college, social media was just starting out. We didn't have the opportunity. I feel like so many people are supplementing their
Yes.
lifestyle by being influencers so that they can do like what you're saying, so they can do the music on the side. Is that something that you help your students with? Are you helping them with social media and guiding them in that direction? I can imagine that's a lot of pressure for you because it's not like you just have to teach them how to sing and how to dress. You have to teach them how to be an influencer and how to stay relevant and get followers. I can imagine that's a lot of stress on you to stay relevant too.
It wouldn't do us any good to teach them how to sing if they can't market themselves. You're
Right.
right. You just said a whole lot. And so, yeah, we have a parallel company that's actually called Parallel Play, and we have 20 social media companies that are in that. And so, what we do is we take the artist's career, we decide those best social media plays. Like there's one with amazing influencers. Um, there's one with they just find endorsements for that artist, like the weed pop guy. Sorry, I shouldn't probably be saying weed pop, but psychedelic pop,
That's
Linda.
cool. I love it.
The psychedelic pop guy, we can, get a lot of CBD sponsors for him.
Sure.
Um, and it's so popular now. So, and then there's 20 different companies though, and the 18 others do one thing really well. Like one just does nothing but work with them on TikTok. So we have to video a bunch on Monday, and then we start dishing it all out. Some of them are making 15 to 20 grand a month just on that. The TikTok pays
I
them for
believe
what they
it.
do.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, it takes 6 months though. It does take about 6 months for us to push it out there.
Okay, like it takes 6 months to be TikTok famous. Is that what you're saying, or just to get paid?
For any influencer. Yeah. Oh, well, it depends. If it goes viral, obviously, there's certain things that we study. Like I was lucky enough now because we do a lot with Parallel Play. It actually has two divisions called Pulp Social, which is just the social media part that we do, and then the other one is called Playlist Push. And so the Playlist Push part, we're just pushing those songs out on playlists as much as we can, and because there's a lot of scams out there with that too. Um, and really, actually, the hardest part is making that artist stop long enough to get enough content that he can get it out or she can
Right,
get it out.
right.
And but if we really want for them to go viral overnight, we'll hire the influencer. And Jake and Paul Logan are friends of ours, so we just hire people. I mean, you can do it as little as $500 and say, "Can you push my guy out?" I mean, is it cheating? Yeah, it's kind of like payola on radio, right? And so but it works. And so we'll do it. We have no problem with it. We'll do anything we can to get an artist out there because there's so much noise. There's so much noise. You got to get above it. Oh, it's everywhere. But yeah, it is stressful.
Do you think that
It is.
TikTok is a detriment to musicians, or do you think it's a good thing?
Well, I think anything that'll get music out is a good thing.
Right. Well, speaking of TikTok, I have a segment that I do on every episode called Playlist of My Life. And I have never been more excited to hear someone's playlist than you because it's music is everything to you. So you sent me a list, and I know it was really hard. I said, just pick five. And you said you narrowed down from 10,000 to five. So I want to go through these, and I just want to hear the stories behind them. And the first one that you gave me is related to TikTok. So it's See You Later in 10 Years by Jenna Rain. Um, Give us some background on why that song is on the playlist of your life.
Because how it made it. I love the song, uh, but she was signed to, Nickelodeon, and she was about to do this thing. COVID came along. They couldn't substantiate the contract for obvious reasons. COVID had come, but it was keeping her from going on with, her life. And here she is 16, the prime, which is a prime for us for the young teens anyway, not the adult singers and fan base. But and I the whole time am going, why aren't you launching music? You've got to at 16, and she already had like 50 songs. She was writing with everybody from Ryan Tedder down. And so I said, you got to start launching songs. You got to start launching songs. And then I sent her to Nashville, and my partner in Nashville said, "You got to start launching songs." And so he sent her to England to write, and she started writing these amazing songs. And this song, she just came home in her living room at the piano, wrote by herself. And I said, "Launch a song." So She does. She launched it on TikTok and she, of course, put it on Spotify and it went #1 for a long time. And we were all shocked going, we didn't expect that. We didn't know it would launch like first.
Right.
And this is, of course, when all the new hits were coming out too. So, of course, it launched virally. It went #1 virally, not on the other charts. But um, I mean, it was just amazing. In fact, that's when Adele went #1 on the other charts. So you have a parallel situation.
Wow.
But viral is more important to us because that means the fans are taking it on.
Totally.
And so so I love the song. I love her singing it, but I love it that she wrote it by herself on the piano, very unproduced, and it made #1. That's killer. That's killer.
amazing.
It's an
And it's a
opportunity
great
for
song.
everybody.
Totally.
Mhm.
I love that. This next one, I totally agree, is Anyone by Demi Lovato. That is, speaking of singing with emotion, that is one of the most, you can hear so
Mhm.
much pain and sorrow and hurt in her voice. It's tangible. Every time I listen to the song, I feel it. This song she wrote, it's a cry, for help, saying that
Yeah.
will anyone help her? She feels so deeply like her demons are coming back to her.
Mhm.
Tell me why you love that song so much. Obviously, Demi was a student of yours. How did that feel the first time you heard it?
Well, the first time I heard it, she was singing it on the top of the roof in a building in LA. And I mean, to watch her sing live is just, it looks like she's feeling the pain at the time there too, even more so because you feel that emotion. Um, but it's interesting. One day I had headphones in here at work and I was sitting there listening to it again. And of course, when you have headphones in, especially spatial audio headphones, you really hear you really hear everything. And so I was I was sitting there and I just fell apart at my desk and just it emoted through me, not just through her. It
Mhm.
got to me. Would anyone? And I think we've all had that. And so she got to sing a song that we all identify with. At some point in our lives, we've all said, would anyone listen?
Mhm.
Anyone, especially younger years, we do it, teen years, because we don't think anyone's listening, even though they are. They just can't focus just on that teen sometime. And teens need a lot of focusing. We know because we teach a lot of them. And so it was so beautiful. And I just fell apart. And I called immediately and said, I'm sorry. I'm just crying. I can't even talk right now. And I listened to it all the way home for 25 minutes and cried the entire way home. That is a powerful song. Plus, her nuances, Caroline, she can literally go. I mean, everything she does, everything she does, everything is a cry and a plea,
Mhm.
as if she's talking rather than just singing. That is hard to do, and then have a tone that stays long enough that you identify melody contact. I mean, that girl's probably one of the best singers I've ever heard in my
Linda,
life,
her
ever,
voice
ever.
it's
Yeah,
freakish. It's insane.
it is.
Had that voice when
It
she was
is.
a little girl. I specifically remember my dad and
Yeah,
I at your showcase, and we both looked at each other. We're like, "That's like what? How is that
I
huge
know.
voice coming out of such a small girl?" She's been through so
Yeah,
much. It's just, and her voice always emotes what she's singing, and she's incredible. She's just incredible.
she's powerful.
What a talent.
Yeah, and you know what? The interesting thing is you just give her a song and she already knows how to emote that without even knowing the song. Her voice goes straight to it. I really never had a singer that could do that. They have to study it a little bit, but she's natural. I'd like to say we did it all, but she she was natural. She's just amazing. Just a phenomenal gal. Beautiful talent. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful girl inside too. She hurts for people a lot. I think that's where it comes from. She cares. Her whole family's like that. Her mother's like so nice, and Dallas is too. They're all Madison. They're all very, very kind people. So is her dad. They all care,
Mm-hmm.
and they care too much. A lot of it is just overcare, and so they feel your pain with you.
Right.
They're amazing family, amazing family.
I love her. I love her. Okay, Fly by Celine Dion. Tell me why you love it.
Well, this is my example for everyone that when they come in, especially musical theater, classical, anything, and I say, "Let me show you how a song is really sung." Now, anyone would certainly be one of those too, but this one is a little less complicated than that, and more complicated in all what we call colorization and texturization of sound. So
Mm-hmm.
after you learn to sing, you then have 46 ways of texturizing sound to make it sound like a story while you're singing, so you don't sound like some musical theater film. And so just subtle beginnings, only one or two climaxes during a song, several things that operate those 46 texturization skills. And so we train on those 46 texturization skills, including how to separate the chords out so that they're just, enough air that we're going, ah, and that's, of course, many people's tons of people sing like that with a little bit separated chords, and it's cool. It's really cool. So we teach all these different things so that that person can then take it and go, okay, I like these things, and this is how my style would be, along with my God given tone, which you're born with, and I can't change. Um, and so that's how I train. Well, the Fly, Celine Dion, in this one song, of course, it's a very sad song about her niece dying, and she wrote the song. And if you'll look up the old video of Oprah, she's singing that on Oprah, and she's singing it to her niece's mother. And if you're not crying by the end of that episode, we don't have emotion at that point,
Right.
because she sings this and she sings it while crying through the song, but she does head voice mix, belt, breath, crying. She gets off pitch at some point, which is perfect because it's
Mm-hmm.
perfect for that song. And then she breaks up at the end. And by the time you're done, you're just in pieces
You just
because this poor girl did
through it
die.
all. Yeah.
And yeah, and she sang it. She was at her bedside. So, and
Oh
she was, I
my
think,
God.
12 or 13. But that's what music is about. That's what
Mm-hmm.
it's about.
Okay, this other one I love by Mr. Hank Williams Jr. Your Cheating Heart. And you
Yeah.
said that that's kind of your family song. Tell me more about that.
My dad was a terrible singer, and he wasn't a good guitar player either. He only knew three chords, but that's what most songs are made of anyway. But it just, you're cheating hard. I mean, he never opened his mouth, and so we had to endure it. But the funny part about it is that he sang it so much that now, of course, he's gone on. But I listen to that song, and every time I do, I have the hugest smile on my face. Whereas back in the day, we had eye rolling competitions, and but he sang it every Friday night, every Friday night, every Friday night. We had to listen to that song. He knew two others, but those were the three. And the Cheating Heart was his favorite, and you know how back in those days they just had an amp and
Yeah.
that's about it. And I just now I love it. Of course, it reminds me he's my best friend, as I'm sure your dad was, and so it reminds you of the best friend.
Yeah. Just takes you right back.
It does.
Yeah. It's crazy how music has the ability to do that. I just got to the point where I can listen. Do you know who Ben Folds is?
Of course.
That was me and
Yeah.
Dad's favorite. And I couldn't listen to him for so long because it was just every song, just the timbre of his voice would make me cry. It
Hmm.
wouldn't matter what song it was. It could be a happy song, but now I can listen to him again. But it's crazy. It literally, it just takes you back.
That's that's what music does, and I'll tell you a really big, huge, marketing secret, and that is that in high school, whatever you listen to in high school and college is what you normally will listen to the rest of your life, because
Mm-hmm.
that's where your fondest and biggest memories were made. So in your family and your college years and in your high school years, if you have a favorite song that you fell in love with and blah, 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 all the things that made a difference in your life, those are the things, I still want to go back and listen to those bands. I still want to go back. And so, the baby boomers are a huge generation. So what is number one today? All the rock artists out there that are touring, they're huge. If you look on Billboard, they're number one sales, number one sales, number one sales, because everybody remembers those days. And the same thing will happen to you. The songs that you love the most, those will be the ones you'll grow up through life, and never give them up. You'll never, ever, 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 ever give them up. Even if you like the latest person next week, you'll never give them up. And that's what you'll always go back. That's what we bargain for as we're marketing to somebody. So if our avatar is my age, then we have to add all of that, whatever it is that it is. So that's how we hope for that, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an artist right now that you're just super obsessed with that's not one of your students, just in the top hits that you love?
Oh gosh, I have many. I mean, I could name 100, because I look at all of them and how they, just the pieciness of things that they do. I mean, truly, if I pulled up Spotify right now, I would tell you every artist and why I like them, because they do something very, very, very different. And I don't think I have any one artist, because I don't really love that much music as a whole. I love the artist.
Right.
It's the artist I'm after. So it's, there's just, name them. And I love a lot of country artists. I love people that can express themselves, that become organic to their soul. I love it. And I love music. Of course, I listen to music nonstop, except when I get in the car coming home from work. And then I'm tired of it.
I bet.
And then I don't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Need some talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to talk about all your famous students. Obviously, you've worked with people like Jessica Simpson, Beyonce, Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez, my best friend, Ryan Cabrera, who we love, who's a hot mess, Casey Musgraves. And I didn't know that you worked with Leon Bridges, too. He's a friend of mine as well. Depends on the day that you ask. You may not know who I am. But can I go through the list and you just tell me the kind of it factor that you recognize in each of these people, or what makes them special that you think is the reason they made it? Jessica Simpson.
Some of it might surprise you.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, Jessica Simpson.
Okay, would you rather me tell you the truth of how they really did make it, or what I recognized, or both?
I want to see. Oh yeah, give me both. Give me what you recognized and then the real reason.
Okay, so Jessica has a better voice than anybody knows. Her voice is stupid good.
Phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. It's almost as good as Demi's, almost, but she doesn't have the confidence Demi does. Demi has a lot of confidence with her voice. Jessica didn't have as much confidence. Plus, I think if she had had a really good manager, she would have been huge. It would have been huge. But it would have been huge. But what happened and how she made it is, when we brought her to Tommy Mottola, he was looking for someone. Obviously, when you're used to, labels were a big deal. And they still are. They still have their purpose. But anyway, at that time, Christina was out and Britney was out, and Columbia didn't have a pretty girl. And so they needed it. So Jessica was it. And she got that slot, and I don't blame her. I thought, geez, take it. And she's talented. We just sang a song that pulled up that was an original that we found and put it out there. It was, I can't tell you how different it was back then. But it's not because she lacked talent, but she's a dancer. That's what, nobody really knows the true talent of this girl. She's phenomenal dancer. Phenomenal. And she's, of course, a phenomenal singer.
She's a triple threat, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you read her book?
Yeah, I was in it. Of course,
I know you were in it. I listened to it on audio, and I feel like that's the way to go. If anyone has not listened to it,
I know. Yeah, no,
She's a
I'm
Cancer
kidding, but
too. Oh my gosh. I
yeah,
cried
yeah, she is.
the whole
Yeah,
book. That was so emotional. Yeah,
it
she
is
talks about
emotional.
you, and
Yeah,
she calls you a second mother. I mean, she just reveres you
yeah.
and your relationship so much. That must feel so incredible. And she's
She's an
a hustler.
amazing girl.
She's a phenomenal businesswoman as well, which is so
She is.
rare for someone to.
Actually, her mother's the one that really helped her out and all
Mhm.
of that. But Jessica has a phenomenal fashion sense. She's she is a hustler. I love that girl.
Yeah,
She's
she's
amazing.
incredible. Okay, tell me what you recognize in Demi, and then the real reason you think she made it.
Well, I mean, Demi's easy. She just opens her mouth and you go, okay, I give up. That's
Mhm.
amazing. How old are you? Like 9? And she already had a huge vibrato, which was nice, and we had to bring it down a little bit. But she already had that, which is really tough. Which means the chords are loose enough that they can do all kinds of stuff. I won't give a voice lesson right now, but anyway, it was amazing, and so I love that. And then plus her ability to act. I mean, she had done so much. She was with Barney. She had done so many things that she was already. It's kind of like our pageant girls. They People don't like pageants, but pageants do get these people ready for stage and people staring at them. So then I don't have to do that. I don't have to get
Mhm.
5,000 gigs for them to get over people looking at them because
Stage
they already had
fright.
that.
Mhm.
So yeah, so there's a reason that's really good for pageants. But Demi, really, obviously, what made her is that once Disney I don't think they were originally going to use her as a singer. It was an actor, and when they realized what she could do, it all went to singing. But Disney truly is the one that made her. They created everything around her, everything, and that whole show, was around her. And once they did, she took off. I mean, it was amazing, and I got to tour with her during that time and see what Disney did. They did a lot. They were they were pushing her pretty strong. One thing I don't love as a singer about those types of things is they make those artists sing almost every night, and a
Mhm.
singer can't do that. They can't. Our chords can't do it. It'd be like an athlete having to run a race every day. You can't do it. It's the
Right.
same muscle structure. You're still using it. So that was the only bad thing. And she lost her voice a lot because of it. She was
I'm
hoarse a lot.
sure. What about
But
Casey?
Disney really is the reason. Who?
Casey Musgraves. She's not
Casey
Jessica
Musgrave.
and Demi have those big, incredible voices. Casey's
Yeah.
more of a writer. She's more of a truth teller,
Mhm.
I'd say, less of a showboat.
Casey. Yeah, Casey, I think it's first of all, she's gorgeous, which didn't hurt. People love her. She's very sweet. And her whole family's sweet. And she was the girl next door, and she liked to write girl next door songs. So her songwriting is what did it. But she has a beautiful voice. I mean, it's beautiful. But you're right, country doesn't demand as much though out of pop as pop singers do. Country's more about those lyrics.
Well, and she's transitioning, talking even more about how, I mean, because I've seen it just being an artist myself, their genres are becoming obsolete. So for Casey, especially, she started. I remember I saw her. I was talking to my best friend Bailey about this.
Hmm.
We saw her open for Robert O'Keefe, I think in 2011, and she was 21 years old. She went and sang a song about how she was telling the man to go home to his wife. So it was very country, and to see where she's
Yeah,
taken her career from Follow Your Arrow to the Golden Hour record. And she's kind of transitioned totally. She's kind of made her own genre at this point. She's not really pop. She's kind of, and that's why I love her too, is because she never kind of felt
yeah,
like she had to do what the record labels were telling her to do. She kind of has made her own path.
she did, but she got banned from
Right.
the country awards because of it. Country music really likes their own to stay in their own lane, right? And their own silo, and which is so wrong. I mean, music is not meant to have genres, and that's why fusions are amazing. Why do you have to dictate what that has to be? Because Gen Z's not dictating it; it's the
They don't
record
want to
labels that
dictate
are.
anything, especially not music,
Yeah.
which I think is
No.
so cool because they're pushing so many boundaries that haven't been pushed before, you know?
Oh, amen. Today's era of what young people live in, I would have given anything all the boundaries are being, wait a minute, why do we have these
Mhm.
boundaries? It's not called morality. It has nothing to do with immoral. It just has to do with stupid boundaries that somebody else put there, and legalities and selfish people and egos and money and blah 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 blah. And I think, wow, I love it. Everything's wide open. You can do your own business. Believe me, if I knew what I knew now from just the apps that I use, I think, wow, if I were 20 years old again, I'd be a billionaire. I know now what to do.
Totally.
And there's so many options you can have. So many, so many, so many, so many. And it's up for grabs for anybody. You don't even have to have a college education. You don't have to have a high school education. You just have to study. That's it. Just
Mhm.
study.
Mhm.
Study Clubhouse. Study any of it. Study Twitter places. Study LinkedIn places. I mean, study those things, and all these fabulous people will tell you how to do stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so true. Linda, you remind me so much of my dad because and I think this is why he was successful, is he was always open to the next generation, and he always wanted to be in on all the new cool stuff happening. And I think that's when you stop being open
Mhm.
to that is when you stop growing. So I think it's so cool to see
Oh,
someone
amen. Yeah.
like you who could very easily say, this is what's worked for me in the past, look who I made, and this has worked for me, and these are singing lessons. Like, you have totally just been just very malleable, and you know what it takes to be a star in these times, not in the early 2000s, not in the 90s. And I think that's a great lesson for everyone, because you're still on the pulse of what's cool, because you have to stay relevant, and that's really important because you're still learning all the time.
Well, and any business that doesn't stay relevant will die.
Mm-hmm.
And the merry-go-round of social media, people talk about hating social media. And I say, listen, it's hard for all of us to post every day and do the silly things that we think we have to do. You don't have to do that, though. It's educational. TikTok right now is trying to get out of still feeling like Musically.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they asking for? They're asking for people to be educational. And those are the ones that are getting all the vibes now and sweet love from TikTok if you're educational.
Right.
So teach somebody something. But thank you for saying I remind you of your dad. Man, what a compliment. My day has just been made.
No, it's so true. I mean, I think both of you realized that even when he was here, that you both were always moving forward and always on the up and up, and not just sitting in your career and sitting in your fame. You always want to keep moving forward, which is why you're still doing what you're doing, and your name is perfection.
Well, thank you. But don't you have fun learning too, though, right? And that's the fun
I
part.
mean,
That's a hobby in
yes,
itself.
and I learned so much on TikTok. It's kind of embarrassing. And I always say, if I ever say I read an article, that means I watched a TikTok. So I'm not reading articles,
But
I'm just on TikTok.
that's the same thing. It's just a video, not
Yeah,
an article.
exactly.
Yeah,
Speaking of
nothing
learning
different.
and moving forward, do you have any podcasts or books that you love that keep you motivated?
Yes, I have a lot, and I read. I mean, I either read or Audible, But
Mhm.
my favorite book of all times that I have read, I guess recently, is Atomic Habits. And the reason I love it so much, by James Clear, is the reason why is because it showed me all of my bad habits. And I'm sitting there listening to this going down the road going, oh, you know, how you get entrenched in thought processes in your brain and why that becomes a habit. And so obviously it is also going to teach you how to break those habits. It also teaches you why your children have habits because of the parents, and how we just literally genetically transfer it over. And as I listened to it, I went, wow. And it taught me every time I was about to do something, Caroline, that had a habit, I had to say, I said, I've done this. Uh oh, I'm about to do the same damn habit.
Mhm.
So I am going to break it right now. And it was hard. And so I would. And the
And what
book
was the
is
name of the book again? I
phenomenal.
missed it.
Atomic
Atomic
Habits.
Habit. Yes. Okay. Yes. I have it.
Yeah.
I have not read it. It's sitting on my nightstand right now,
Yeah.
actually. I need to read it then. That's
Yeah.
my
And
time.
it's also on Audible.
Okay.
And I made 30 of our artists read it. And they went, "Oh my gosh." I said, "I know, right? It's amazing, just an amazing." And then somebody brought me a book yesterday, one of the um, uh, singers, and she said, "I know you love everything." And this was another one about habits. I forgot the name of it. I got to go get it, but something script, and I've got to read it. But it's daily devotionals for people who are breaking habits. Are you
Oh,
kidding
that's
me?
smart. I need
Yeah,
that.
it is. It is. I'll tell you what it is.
Yeah, tell me. Speaking of all that, I'm obsessed with morning routines, and I know a lot of successful people have a certain routine that they do in the mornings, big or small. Do you have anything every morning that you do?
Yeah. First thing I do just to wake myself up is I make myself pray. And that sounds awful to say you make yourself, but I have to make myself or I'll fall back asleep.
Yeah, no, I
And
get it.
so yeah, so I say, okay, dear Lord, here's the deal. Here's all the things I'm thankful for, and here are the things during the day that be by my side. And
That's
then
great.
that wakes me up, and I'm able then to get up and go get coffee, which is what I do, and then I study from 6 to 9 and every morning. And this morning was on the need for speed, and it's phenomenal. SPEED. That it's an acronym, and obviously it goes on that we're very slow in everything we do and think. Even though we may be ADHD, which most everybody is now, but we're slow in getting things done. We think we have to calculate too much, and it talks about stop. And I thought, wow, this was a blessing to me because certainly I also have to lead a number of employees and to help them understand the need for speed to stay alert and in today's world is kind of fun. I mean, instead of spending hours, and he said something this morning that was really beautiful. And it was on if you give yourself 30 hours to do something, you're going to take 30 hours. If you give yourself 3 hours, you're going to take 3 hours. So the date and the time is extremely important. You will take as much
Mhm.
time as you have allotted yourself. So don't be careful with that time and that date. So anyway, it was really good.
I
But that's
love
my
that.
morning
That's
routine.
exactly the stuff I want on this podcast because I listen to podcasts like mine too, so that I can hear everyone's input like that because those kind of things are you could
Yeah,
use immediately, which is so great. So when you're studying for
it is.
3 hours in the morning, is that sorry, I have two dogs here. Okay, guys, thank you. Is that more self-development? What kind of is it array of books? What are you studying music? What kind of books are you reading?
Good question. It depends, but no, it's not. It's music. It only takes me about 15 minutes. I have to look at the media charts, and just know what style's going on. I just have to keep myself abreast. That takes not much because that's not rocket science. I'm just listening to what's going on, right? But where I have to develop is my head. And so I have to I do Clubhouse a lot. Are you on Clubhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have my favorites on Clubhouse that, during the week that I enjoy that are really truly experts on what they do. And, and then I'm reading, all kinds of it's not just financial because like, I had to learn how to really do a non-fungible token, right? I had to figure that out. I had to know, well, how do you exactly do that? And when you're cryptocurrency in music, how do I do that? I have one of my artists, um, is totally all of her fans were based on her coin, and it's worked, but it was tough for us. We did it out of LA with a group, and it was hard. So I had to study that a lot more because I didn't know crap. And then motivational, just as every day, every day, because this life is tough. You know, it's tough. And as I look at it, I think it's because the reason it's tough is we have to grow, and the only way we grow is obviously to grow past our fear of growing and our fear of what we do every day. So habits and growth are the huge things, which is of course what I lean on. But I mean, I can't even. I mean, I could give you the top 10 books that I have read that changed my life. There's just so much, and every day I do, including the Bible. I mean, you read things that you go, wow. Some of it's just history. A lot of it. Some of it is really worthy of if back then it worked then too, then it must still be a universal law today. Plus, I love to read quantum physics, and I love quantum entanglement because I really do think we are all joined in energy.
Mm-hmm.
I totally believe it, and I think we all are one. I don't know who decided to separate us all out. Maybe that's called sin, but you just
Yeah.
quantum entanglement and what goes on with it is just if you read it, it'll blow your head open. You go,
Mhm.
"Oh, wow." You know, it's amazing, amazing understanding of energy and life and what it's about. So it doesn't matter. I read all kind of stuff.
I love it. Since we're talking about this kind of self development stuff, I have a kind of fascination with confidence and what makes people confident, what you think confidence is, and what do you think it is, and how do you think you gain confidence?
I think confidence is two things: knowledge. The more knowledge I have, the more I can see from a better perspective from all viewpoints. So it enables me then to say, well, I understand why that person is saying that. They've been through this, this, and this. Not that it's right, not that they shouldn't change, but at least you identify and you don't say, what's wrong with you? You don't have that anymore. I don't have that. I don't think that way at all. What's wrong with that person? Why is he thinking that way? I think this is what that person has been through. Uh, and even though they need to change, at least I can start there. But the other thing that helps with confidence is the obvious, and that's experience. And the more experience you get, and the more I've done this before, I've gotten over this before,
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten over worse before, and therefore I'm going to get over this now. And the way I do that a lot of times with the weaknesses in my head that I may have at certain things is I cuss myself out. And I literally say, "You blankety blank, get your ass out there and do it and shut up. You know you can do it, so just give it up." And I mean, I'm cussing, 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 then I start laughing, and then I'm okay, and then I get out and do it. And that works for me.
You bully
That works
yourself
for me.
into doing it. I have
I
to do
bully
that too.
myself.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Perfect way to
I have to
say
do
it.
that
I
too
bully
sometimes.
myself.
Mine's
Yeah,
usually to the
and it
gym.
works.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't
Yeah,
work. Yeah.
it works.
I love
But
it.
that's also as you get older, things don't surprise you as much either. So you're going, "Oh, here we go
I've
again.
seen this
Okay, I got
before.
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, been there before." And that's experience, and I mean, believe me, in plenty of meetings, as you well know, when you're knowledgeable of certain things and someone says something, you just kind of have to smile. You smile
Right.
more and laugh inside and go,
Hmm.
if he only knew.
Knowledge is
And you just,
definitely power for sure.
yeah,
Do you have any
it is.
projects that you're working on that you're excited for in the future?
Yeah, we're doing, well, right now we're in the middle of AGT. So anybody that wants to try out for America's Got Talent, we're doing that right now. But
Ooh,
a project that we're working on is we're now learning to train, and we have app developers doing it we're training through Oculus. So therefore, if we can do VR training, and in other words, if someone hasn't been on the stage, and during COVID, we do, I don't
right.
know, a thousand gigs a year probably. We did 150 hours at Christmas and in 1 month, and so I can't do that in COVID. We're
Right.
shut down. Well, what are we going to do? So we were having little things here at the studio, and all kinds of stuff we weren't supposed to do. But anyway, the main thing is how do I do that? So that was born from that. I thought, well, I'm going to go visit a VR company. I went to CES in Las Vegas and talked to all the Oculus people and app developers and said, can you help us? Because we would like to put on VR, even through glasses or the Oculus tentacles, anything that we can to show here you are in a big crowd. Here are the hecklers. Here's somebody
Yeah.
that throws something at you, and literally train these kids or these adults, because adults have the exact same thing, even with speakers. Doesn't have to be just singers, anybody on stage, to get used to what's going to go on in their life as they learn to speak or become president of the United States, whatever it is. So we're developing that now. And it's interesting, how how it puts you in that place, and you do learn how to develop yourself and your stage persona. So
I
that's a
want
big
one.
big one
That's
of
so
ours. We're excited about
cool.
that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Okay, my last
it'll be
question.
exciting.
The name of the podcast is the Keep Looking Up podcast because that was my dad's sign off every day, just to remind people that we need to keep looking up because that's where it all is. Linda, what keeps you looking up every day?
That there is a plan for my life, and that it is run by the energy of God, and that I know no matter what happens that it will work for the good, but I have to understand what that good is. And that good may not be what I think is good.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that every day, I never get depressed. I don't know the last time I ever got depressed. I just had to say, "Ugh, I don't love this, but you know what? It too will work out." And it does. It works out. It works out, and I find something even better, or at least I've grown and learned something that I should have about myself that was incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm not perfect, so it proves something to me, and I realize that. And so I don't. Anything is a challenge. Anything, and I think something else too, Caroline, that helps, and is when you see people that don't have what you have. That is an encourager, whether people want to admit that and be transparent about it. I have MS friends that have totally great heads, but they can't move. I have if people are hurting everywhere. Someone's got to be out there really helping understand that the world is what it is for a reason. It wasn't put here just to make everybody miserable. It was here for us to serve others. We're here to serve others. That's what we're here for. So anytime I get depressed, I start serving, and then I'm like, I get out of it. It's like completely, or I get down, rather, I start serving,
So
and that works.
many people that I've listened to, especially, do you know who Ed Milet is?
No.
You need to look him up. You would really love him. He's kind of a motivational speaker. He kind of studied under Tony Robbins. And he kind of has said similar things to what you're saying. And he always says service first. So anytime he is feeling depressed, he gets out of himself and he goes, and whether that's volunteering or helping a friend, and it just gets you out of your own head for that moment. And it makes you realize this world is so much bigger than me. And I love that you
Amen.
said that you start your mornings with gratitude. That's another thing that I've seen with all these high achieving people that I just want to get in their brain.
Hmm.
They all start with gratitude in the morning. So that's my go-to thing that I've been doing. The second I wake up, I list 3 things I'm grateful for. And then your day just goes up
Yes.
from there, because it can be really easy to wake up and say, oh, I got to do this. And so to start your morning with gratitude like you do, I think is just so helpful, and just seeing the bigger picture, which can be really hard to see sometimes.
That was beautifully said, and you're absolutely right. First of all, you woke up. That's
You woke up.
gratitude. You
Number
didn't.
one, number one
Yeah,
thing to be grateful for.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. You didn't die.
Yeah.
But everybody always want to wake up and say, "Excuse me, it's about me. This is what I need today." But it's the weirdest thing. You just said it. When you start thanking for my health. Hey, I didn't die of COVID after 2 times. Not that death is I mean, I think this is just the kindergarten of life anyway. But you know, when you look at it, there's so many things to be grateful for. First of all, I have a business. Second of all, I make money. Uh, third of all, I don't live in China. There's many things, and so I mean, I'm grateful for that. I want to be here, so I love America, and I don't know. There's so many things to be grateful for, and
Mm-hmm.
I think even the hardest person could change if they would just wake up in the morning and start thinking.
Yep.
I really do. You just said a whole lot, Caroline. That was it. That was it.
I'm just mirroring what you're giving me. You have such positive mindset, and I think it's so admirable that you take that much time every morning dedicated to learning and getting better. You're definitely inspiring me to be reading more.
Well, it becomes kind of addictive too.
Yeah.
It serves itself too. It serves you also. So it becomes a little bit addicting. I could do it all day long, actually, but I have to do this thing called work.
Yeah, I
So,
know.
oh well.
Well, Linda, I've just
It'll be great.
adored you for years. You're such a role model to me, and I'm just so grateful that,
Oh, thank
speaking
you.
of being grateful, I'm grateful that I can just be in your realm and just get to pick your brain and have you in my life, even though, I mean, it would have been such a different, like I said, trajectory working together as student teacher. And but you've taught me so much without even having to be my teacher. So
Well, you could still sing. Are you singing?
I'm singing.
Because
Yeah,
you put out some stuff. Yes,
I did during COVID. And
absolutely.
actually, like what you're telling me about all this TikTok stuff is none of my music has seen the light of day on TikTok. And I'm kind of thinking I need to start putting my music out on TikTok. So you've helped
You
me
do.
for 6 months straight.
Let me help you. Yeah, I'm going to help you do that in a way that makes it. I'll send you some stuff. Yeah,
Okay, we'll
to
talk.
make
We need to have
to
lunch.
make it work.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
doing a songwriting class with Berkeley School of Music. So I'm still learning too at my age.
Berkeley's great at that.
It's a creative
Berkeley
writing
is.
class. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. They have an excellent one,
It's a good one.
especially the publishing part. That's the hard part, but it's
I
good.
know it is
Absolutely.
hard. Yeah. All right, Linda, thank you so much. Can you give me your socials and tell people where to find you so people can look you up in your studio?
Sure. It's all under Linda Septien, and they on all of them. I
Awesome.
don't do TikTok, but I'm about to start. I'll
Ooh, I
show you what
can't
I'm
wait to
doing. It's
start.
really kind of interesting. Yeah, TikTok has kind of hired us to do this thing that's going to be cool, but I'll tell it later. And then, and certainly Instagram, and just under Septien. It's all under the same thing. I'm easy,
You're
easy,
easy.
easy.
I love it. All right, Linda, thank you so much. I learned so much
Thank
from
you.
you today.
Thank you for having me.
You're just incredible, and I look forward to seeing what else you do.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Linda.
it. Thanks for
Love
having me.
you. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to subscribe and rate. Keep looking up anywhere you stream your podcasts. And to stay up to date on all my latest episodes, you can follow at KLU Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or on my website at carolinekraddick.com. And always remember, keep looking up because that's where it all is.